What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to give you tips on how to pass your CNA license exam. So if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my computer screen, but let's get into it. So if you're in CNA school, then you know that you have an exam to pass at the end of your program. And if that makes you nervous, that is perfectly normal. A lot of people have test anxiety, so that's not something to ever be ashamed of. I'm gonna give you some practical tips and tools that help me pass my CNA license test. But first, I'll introduce myself since I'm new on YouTube. My name's Anissa. I'm a CNA, licensed CNA, and I am documenting my journey to nursing and offering some helpful tips along the way. So if you enjoyed this video and take anything from it, I would appreciate if you liked it. If you have a question, leave a comment below. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe. So like I said, I just passed my state license exam in the state of Arizona with a 96%, which I thought was great because I don't even come from a healthcare background. It's a written and a skills portion in my state. I don't know if that's true for every state, but I want to go ahead and give this disclaimer. You're going to have to look up what your state's requirements are in order for you to apply these steps the most applicable way and to ensure that you're the most prepared. I'm going to split my advice into two sections based on that. So my first bit of advice is going to be on how to pass your in-person skills test, if your state has something like that. This was also the part of the test that worried me the most because, like I said before, mentioned before, I'm new to healthcare. So as far as like knowing how to clean catheters and the right way to move a person, I don't have that. And then add on top of that, there's another person in the room who is watching you. So that just added to the stress, but I was determined to pass. This is what helped me to pass with a 96%. First, practice, practice, practice. You need to be active in your class. You should not shy away at all from getting hands-on in your program. While you're practicing, ask your instructor questions. Let your instructor watch you and critique what you're doing to make sure that you're doing it right. Practice makes perfect, and in this case, it has never been more true. All right, next tip. Do things the way your instructor tells you to, even if it's not the way that it's done in the real world. So here is something that I saw a lot of my classmates struggle with because several of my classmates were already working in patient care facilities as sitters, caregivers, that kind of thing. So they've seen how CNAs do it. But in order for you to pass your exam, you just need to do what it takes to pass. Okay, I'm gonna say that again because this is what I told some of my classmates who asked me questions about this and that. I would tell them, listen, we just need to do what it takes to pass. And that is something that I hope you take to heart as well. If your instructor says use 3 washcloths to sanitize hands, don't go grabbing the hand sanitizer, even if it says so in your book. The reason to be so rigid is that you're gonna minimize the amount of mistakes that you make in your exam. Different observers are stricter than others, right? So one observer is gonna be really lenient. She's not gonna worry about, the little things. Another observer might be very strict, and it's not worth missing points, just because you feel you're right. Just do what it takes to pass, do it like she says, that's it. Next, this is a tip that helped me a lot when it came to learning, is volunteer to be an actor. Reason being, you're up close and personal. You're actually getting to watch the steps that they're going through. You are getting an opportunity to focus on the task at hand. And so when I was an actor, say for the skill dressing a patient with an affected side, I would have 4 or 5 people do the skill on me, and they all made mistakes, and those mistakes got caught. But when it was my turn, I would have seen it so many times, but up to that point that it took me no time to do the skill, and I was, able to pass pass that skill just fine. So volunteer to be an actor. It helps with your focus and it helps with you learning the steps. Next, this one was crucial for me, practice at home. Now, if you're the type where education comes really easy, you probably won't really think you need to do it. But practicing at home was a key way for me to kind of take what I was learning and really make it feel like clockwork. So I didn't have a person at home that I could practice on. Like I had my roommate, but our schedules were so different, it didn't really work out. But what I would do is I would just read the skills out loud. And then without looking at my paper, I would verbalize them. And that really helped me. Doing that over and over and over again for a couple hours a day, a couple days a week, really made a big difference for sure. Because when you're in a classroom, yes, you're getting to practice and you absolutely must, but there's so many other people in the class. Everybody is probably working on the same 2 or 3 mannequins, unless you're in like a very fancy facility, but generally it's like 2 or 3 mannequins that you're working on for a class of maybe like 20-some people. So you're not really getting to focus on your own skills to the extent that you can if you're practicing at home and there are very minimal distractions. So practice at home. But next, sweat the small stuff. Pretty much all the skills are going to start with things like sanitizing hands, greeting the patient, explaining the procedure, giving water in the call light. It's really easy to do it a few times and then stop adding it to your practice routine because it's a small step, right? But missing small steps can be what costs you your grade. For example, in my state, forgetting to pull the privacy curtain for female or male pericare, that's an automatic fail. An automatic fail on a skills test. So it's a small step, but make sure to include it in your practice so that when you get to your exam, it's already part of your habit and you're not gonna lose points for little things like that. Next, talk out loud. In my state, verbalizing the skills is a crucial part of how to pass. You can't just do the steps. You have to verbalize the steps. So if your state is similar to that or the same, get comfortable speaking your steps out loud. So whenever you practice, even if you just kind of whisper it to yourself, even if you have to say it quietly like that, do it, just so that you have that habit. My next tip is pay attention to the bolded or asterisk steps in your skills tests or in your practice packets. These are the skills that if you miss them, you automatically fail the skill. They're a big deal. And they're usually pretty common sense. Like I said before, giving the patient privacy is important if you're going to be cleaning their genital areas. Stuff like locking the bed, locking the wheelchair. That's important if you're going to be moving someone using those materials. So be sure to pay attention to those skills and know them very well, okay? Because they are pretty much pass-fail at that point. And my last tip for the skills portion, know the rules of the test, okay? Know the rules of the test. When you register for your exam, they're going to send you an email. Read it thoroughly. Go to your state health website, your state nursing website, and read through the documents. Find out what you need to bring. What do you need to wear? Do you need to wear scrubs? You need to know all these things because what could happen is you could show up to your exam and they could send you home. No refund, just send you home for not being prepared. And that would just be the biggest waste of time and money. The biggest waste of time and money for something so small. So read the instructions, be prepared, even talk to your instructor and find out, hey, what's important for me to know in this situation, and he or she should prepare you pretty well for that. But you also got to help yourself, so know the skills, know the requirements. Okay. All right, now onto the written multiple choice test. So in my state, it's 72 questions. In your state, it might be a different number. So my first tip is that when it comes to practicing for the written exam, do a lot of the practice exams. Do a lot of the practice exam questions. I started taking practice tests probably like the second week of class, and it was part of my program curriculum. And in total, I probably took about 10 to 15 tests. My first try, I did not pass, but the more I did it, the better I got at answering questions. I would even see questions repeated, and my score gradually got better and better and better. And I also got a 96% on my written test, which means I only missed 3 questions of the 72. So take at least 2 to 3 tests a week. You can, of course, ask your instructor for practice tests. They should also just naturally be a part of your curriculum. But you can also find those practice tests online. Go to your state nursing website and look for practice tests, and they should have some questions that you could do at least daily. Next, go through the questions that you got wrong on your practice test. Don't only accept the answer, right? Like if you see that it's B and you put D, don't just glaze over it. Go back and look at why you missed that question and answer it. Really internalize it. That helped me a lot because there were some things that just were not intuitive to me. So going back and looking at the right answer at least helped me to know how to answer that question if I came across it again, and also gave me some understanding about why we do things the way that we do it. Next, study your textbook and do the review questions. It was extra credit for me in my program, but just the practice of it was super helpful. So I highly recommend doing the review questions if you can. Next, this is like a tip for whether you're doing a practice test, any kind of test, but especially the state test. Before you submit your answers, go through all your questions, all your responses one more time. You don't have to go as slowly as you did with the initial taking of the test, but look and make sure that you have every question at least answered. I personally had a situation where I was going back through my questions, like the ones I missed, and be like, I knew this answer. Why did I put the wrong thing? And it was because it was just a mistake. But if I had gone back through my test, I would have seen and hopefully caught that mistake, which I have caught mistakes when I go back through my answers before I submit them. So don't lose points unnecessarily. Just take like a few minutes at the end of your exam before you hit submit. Go back through all of them. Make sure that they're answered. Make sure you're happy with the answer. Make sure that it makes sense to you, and then submit it. And the last tip for passing the written exam, stay calm and take your time, okay? It's not a rush. Don't let seeing people getting up and turning in their tests before you psych you out and make you feel like you need to rush to get it done in order to keep up. You've got a whole hour, so you really don't need to rush. Take your time.